Good day, everyone. We are the Group 2, and we will now present to you the preparedness before, during, and after the typhoon. So, here's the preparedness disaster cycle. First is the preparedness, second is the disaster, third is the response, and the fourth is recovery, and the last one is the mitigation. What is typhoon? Typhoon is a natural disaster that occurs when a mass of warm, moist air forms near the equator and moves east. Typhoon starts with a tropical depression, which are tropical cyclones that have maximum wind speeds of 38 meter per hour or 62 km per hour. It will then make landfall, push inland, and weaken. Its former name is hurricane disaster. Did you know that Typhoon Haiyan, known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon Yolanda, was one of the most powerful tropical cyclones ever recorded? On making landfall, Haiyan devastated portions of Southeast Asia, particularly the Philippines. It is one of the deadliest Philippine typhoons on record, killing at least 6,300 people in that country.
Their effects range from structural damage to trees, water crops, and buildings to both immediate and long-term impacts on human life and livelihood. People can be killed, injured, or lost during typhoons. Flooding can cause people drown, houses to be completely destroyed, property to be swept away, and farms to lose all of their crops to the wind and relentless rain. Mudslides and power outage are common. Food shortage, lack of access to the good medical care and medical supplies, and limited access to the major roads and cities can further complicate the problem caused by a typhoon. Typhoon cause major flooding, which can drown animals and destroy their natural environment. When smaller animals and food supplies disappear or get killed, it affects larger animals. They can no longer find enough food. Livestock and other domesticated animals suffer when man-made shelters collapse. When their human caretakers are unable to care for them, and when they are exposed for long periods of the violent winds and torrential rains. Plant life can easily be swept away by floods and winds. Even trees cannot withstand the sheer force of a typhoon's strength immediately. Excessive rains can cause plants to drown, and it also causes soil erosion. Mudslides often take plants down with them, ripping up their roots and killing the plant.
Disaster preparedness are precautionary measures designed to reduce and losses caused by potential disasters. It is common for nations, regions, cities, organizations, neighborhoods, families, and individuals to prepare for disasters such as fire, earthquake, tsunami, hurricanes, floods, landslide, tornadoes, volcanic eruption, impact event, nuclear, industrial accident, and especially the typhoon. Activities prior to a disaster such as creating a preparedness plan, doing emergency exercises, and implementing warning systems.
Preparedness before the typhoon. First aid kit. You should also keep in those kits emergency cash, flashlights, and extra batteries, fully charged cell phones, and refill. Secure all the important documents. Prepare some canned goods for or anything that won't go for a days. Always have a knowledge about your About the terrain in your home. Identify your residence if it's near to a dam. If yes, then determine the potential hazard where you are staying. Let's now move on to the preparedness during the typhoon. Keep your eyes and ears open. Anything could happen in an instant. Always be updated with the latest happenings by listening to the news on the radio TV. Don't go outside unless you need to evacuate or an emergency situation has happened. Secure your home and turn off your appliances. Turn off your LPG tanks as well. And evacuate your home or location in the following situation. First is if the local authorities have urged you to evacuate. And the last one is the preparedness after the typhoon. Keep listening to the latest news on the radio or in TV. If there is no electricity, make sure that your radio has enough batteries. Watch out for continued rains and flooding. They may still persist despite the storm being gone. If you've gotten separated with your family, make sure to remember your meeting plans and meet at the desired place. If you're staying in a shelter, ask the local ask ask the local officials first if it's safe to go back to your home. When walking through the roads, watch out for broken poles and electric lines. This can get pretty hazardous, especially on a wet or unflooded road. Inspect your house if there are any damages.
Activities during a disaster, such as provision for public warning systems, conducting emergency operations, and search and rescue. The provision of emergency services and public assistance during or immediately after a disaster in order to save lives, reduces health impacts, ensure public safety, and meet the basic subsistence need of the people affected. Disaster response is predominantly focused on immediate and short-term needs, and it's sometimes called disaster relief.
Provision of development assistance in addition to cooperation to assist project affected individuals in maintaining or improving their living conditions. Removing, storing, or disposing of waste, demolition, repairs incurred as a result of damage to insulted property that are unavoidably and reasonably. Destruction of infrastructure and rebuilding of buildings and households.
Mitigation or disaster mitigation. Disaster mitigation measures are those that eliminate or reduce the impacts and risk of hazards through proactive measures taken before an emergency or disaster occurs. In short, the action of reducing the severity, seriousness, or painful of something. Mitigation means reducing risk of loss from the occurrence of any undesirable event. This is an important element for any insurance business so as to avoid unnecessary losses. In general, mitigation means to minimize degree of any loss or harm.
A typhoon is a giant rotating storm that brings wind, rain, and devastation. Many things might happen when we experience a typhoon. Typhoons can cause massive flooding, which can drown animals and destroy their natural environment. Flooding can cause people to drown, houses to be completely destroyed, property to be swept away, and farms to lose all of their crops to the winds and relentless rains. Their impacts range from structural damage to trees, watercrafts, and buildings to immediate and long-term impact on people's life and livelihoods. People can be killed, injured, or lost during typhoons. Preparedness is preventive measures designed to minimize damage from possible disasters. It is common for nations, regions, cities, organizations, neighborhoods, families, and individuals to prepare for disasters such as fire, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, floods, landslides, tornadoes, volcanic eruption, impact events, and especially the typhoon. Activities during a disaster include provision of public warning system, conducting the emergency operation and search and rescue. The term disaster refers to the provision of emergency services and public assistance during or immediately after a disaster in order to save lives. Reducing health impacts ensure public safety and meet the basic subsistence need of the people affected. We cannot avoid disaster that might happen, so we need to be more extra careful and prepared every day.